Hi, this is Laura. Today I want to take a little time and talk about a recent action taken by the Attorney General of the United States. President Joe Biden's top law enforcement official has made a mountain out of molehill, and as a result, school administrators may threaten parents who are speaking up on behalf of their children. On Monday, Attorney General Merrick Garland released a memorandum describing how the Federal Bureau of Investigation will coordinate with law enforcement agencies across the country to address threats to school administrators and school board members. The memo states that there has been a disturbing spike in the harassment of school staff and a rising criminal conduct directed toward school personnel. Alas, there is no evidence of a rise in the memorandum or references to where one could find evidence of it. One can find evidence in a September 29 letter from the National School Board Association to Biden documenting heinous actions that could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. If one reads the letter, one finds people clearly raising their voices, which is normal when people are discussing things that matter to them. When parents or community members cross the line into threats, local law enforcement has handled the situation. There is no quantitative data in the letter. Instead, there are a bunch of disparate stories strung together to make it look like there is a pattern. For example, the letter reports that in two school board meetings, an individual yelled a Nazi salute in protest to masking requirements and another person prompted the board to call a recess because of opposition to critical race theory. These acts are disruptive and inappropriate, but democracy is not a graduate school seminar, and parents are allowed to express themselves to elected school board members. Schools should want parents invested in the well-being of their children. Yet today we have a number of government officials who indicate that parents don't have a role in educating their kids. When I asked for evidence of a rising threat on social media, people shared with me stories that are unified mostly by Democratic outrage at conservative activists. For example, in Penfield Central School District in upstate New York in June, a parent yelled at a school board member to be respectful and "this isn't about you, bud," at which point the board member called the parent by an expletive term. The parent told a reporter, "I'm a passionate parent and there were many others in the room, and we all felt kind of disrespected by his cavalier attitude toward our comments." Knowing just a little bit about this story, I am more sympathetic to the parent than to the allegedly F-bomb dropping school board member. Regardless, I think it is outrageous for the Attorney General to meddle in situations that are local in nature and, so far, have led to incredibly few acts of overt violence, certainly not with the character of domestic terrorism. Given that countries around the world are exempting children, with varying age cutoffs, from wearing masks in classrooms, parents are allowed to ask, with passion in their voice, why their own children must wear them in public schools. The threat, in short, appears to be mostly a figment of progressive imagination and just another example of how they are trying to control both students and parents. What is the Attorney General's plan to address this phantom threat? He has directed the FBI to coordinate with law enforcement agencies in 14,000 public school districts to formulate strategies for addressing threats and opening dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting. This sounds suspiciously like controls instituted during Nazi control in Germany during the late 1930s. The Constitution does not enumerate education as a federal power, and states and local school districts have the responsibility for keeping students safe. The FBI started in 1908 mostly as a response to organized crime, but it has been repurposed several times to address threats that cross state lines. In its history, particularly during J. Edgar Hoover's era, the FBI often abused its power, including trying to discredit, disrupt, and destroy civil rights organizations. To be clear, the FBI has stopped real terrorist threats. My point here is that the use of the FBI to monitor school board meetings is an incredible expansion of the federal government's police power and a great example of how progressives want us to be tolerant except when we disagree with their tactics or words. And what will likely happen when the FBI trains school administrators and school board members to be on the lookout for threats? Odds are, they will call the FBI to report parents who are irate about things like masks or the curriculum. Sounds like what happened during the Third Reich, doesn't it? Just as people are more likely to use a weapon if it is in easy reach, irate administrators and school board members may call the FBI on parents who are bothering them. This action, or the possibility of it, will prompt parents to stop participating in school activities. Perhaps, this is the outcome that the Attorney General is hoping to achieve. It certainly goes against everything that is American. When parents are less involved, parents have more negative attitudes about their children's schools, they lose trust in the government, and become skeptical of the government's ability to address social problems. That's according to research that looked at how standardized testing alienates parents from their children's schools. But I'd predict other sources of alienation, like administrators reporting on parents, will have the same effect. Without more evidence of real threats, the Attorney General appears to be making a political decision rather than a prudent one. But there may be another reason for the action that he took. According to other public sources, the Attorney General's son-in-law is actively involved with bringing critical race theory into the public schools. Although this has not been brought out by those who are promoting the FBI involvement, it also doesn't help that the Attorney General's family may benefit from this action. In any case, it warrants more investigation and more oversight from Congress on this action taken by the Attorney General. If you want to learn more about what is going on in our public schools and why parents are attending school board meetings in greater numbers than the past, visit Nehemiah Reset's website.